Darth Sidious strikes Mace Windu's lightsaber with torrents of lightning. Windu holds his ground, struggling to repel against the sheer force of the electric current. After a long standoff, Windu prevails. The Jedi swings his sword, going for the kill, but is stopped by Anakin slicing his hand clean off. Windu stares in horror at the stump that was now his hand, severed by the rebel Jedi. He looks back to Sidious, who then floods his body with lightning, sending him flying up the window, down to the city of Coruscant, screaming, "Unlimited power!" Sidious then looks towards Anakin. "Join me, Anakin. Learn to use the dark side of the Force." Have you ever wondered what would have happened if the droids had saved the Jedi during Order 66? Well, if so, then you are in luck, because that is exactly the scenario that we'll be exploring today. So, cuddle up with your warm bowl of Bantha Brew and your pet Tauntaun, because this is going to be an adventure, as we dive right into what if the droids saved the Jedi during Order 66. Sidious approaches Anakin, looking deep into his conflicted eyes. "Join me, Anakin. Learn to use the dark side of the Force. Use my knowledge, I beg you." Anakin responds, saying that he will do whatever it takes to save Padme. Then he kneels, ready to submit to Palpatine's will. He's still shaken from killing Windu, and it shows. He has a hollowness in his eyes, and he is shell-shocked. He stares past Sidious towards the window that Mace was flung from just moments before, regretful. He's distraught that it had come to killing his ally, but is firm in the fact that he would do anything to save the one that he loves and usurp the corrupt Jedi Council. Sidious approaches further. "Become my apprentice, Anakin," utters Sidious. "I will do whatever you ask. Just help me save Padme's life. I can't live without her," Anakin replies. Sidious then explains to Anakin that in order to cheat death, it will be a very strenuous and borderline impossible task that has only been once achieved. He says, although, that if he and Anakin work side by side, they can discover the secret to saving Padme's life. Anakin looks back at Sidious with a look of desperation. "I pledge myself to my teachings," he pleads. "Good," Sidious responds before leaving the room to head to his holoprojector. Then he sends one simple message to every single clone commander in the galaxy. "Execute Order 66. Immediately, Order 66 is implemented across the galaxy. Commander Cody orders for Obi-Wan to be shot at. "Blast him," he says. As the plasma bolt makes contact with Kenobi, CIS battle droids from the higher levels of Utapau watch as the Jedi plummets into the water below. Confused, the battle droids send this information to their generals and tactical droids. Meanwhile, Ki-Adi-Mundi deflects blaster bolts from the Separatist army, elegantly blocking and redirecting their beams of plasma. As Mundi beacons for his troops to advance, his clones halt, raising their blasters towards him and taking fire, mowing down the Jedi general. The droids witness this slaughter. Once again, they're confused, and they send this information galaxy-wide. The CIS generals are receiving multiple reports of Jedi being slain by rebel clones across the galaxy. The clones were attacking the Jedi? The Jedi now appeared to be against the Grand Army of the Republic? What? The CIS generals realize this. Could the Jedi now be on their side? And if so, would that mean that to ensure Separatist survival, saving the Jedi from the oncoming onslaught would be a top priority? It seemed absurd, but it started to make sense. The generals and tactical droids begin to kick their new priorities into action. They must save their new allies, the Jedi. Plo Koon is on an A-Wing clone convoy navigating through Cato Neimoidia. His wingmen receive this hologram from Sidious. "Execute Order 66, he says. As the clones prepare to fire in compliance with this order, Separatist anti-aircraft cannons shoot the clones out of the sky, anticipating the attack. Plo Koon looks back, bewildered. He watches in horror as his clones plummet towards the ground. Then he realizes something. Why were they shot down? He wasn't. He looks to the cannon from which the bolt was fired to see the unprecedented sight of a Separatist battle droid saluting him. Something was wrong, dreadfully wrong. He must pass this intel to the rest of the Jedi Order in order to figure out what was going on. Yoda, Obi-Wan, and Bail Organa meet aboard a ship to hold a meeting regarding the recent onslaught against the Jedi. "How many other Jedi have managed to survive?" inquires Kenobi.
"Apart from Plo Koon, heard from no one, have we?"
Yoda responds. Kenobi chimes in. "That reminds me, when I spoke with Plo, he mentioned something about being shot at by a separatist anti-aircraft cannon, but it didn't hit him. In fact, it hit everyone apart from him. All of the clones. The most curious part was when he looked down to the battle droid who shot the clones out of the sky. He was being saluted."
"Programmed to oppose the army of the Republic or the battle droids," responds Yoda. "So when they saw the clones attacking us, marked us as allies, they must have," replies Yoda.
"No matter what, this is good for us," adds Kenobi. "But it doesn't answer why those clones were attacking us," he says. "Palpatine is the only one with that sort of power over the clones," says Senator Organa from the corner of the room.
"Ordered them to execute us. He must have,"
adds Yoda. "So this was an inside job," Kenobi responds quietly. "We must contact the Separatists to ally our forces immediately," Kenobi says.
"Ensure their safety, we must,"
adds Yoda. "We have to put a stop to Anakin." "I also fear for the young Skywalker," Organa says. "I think that Palpatine has been using him somehow, manipulating him perhaps. I believe that we have to figure out what's going on with him and put a stop to whatever Palpatine has planned for him." The Jedi nod in agreement.
"Go to Coruscant, we will. Find out what Skywalker is doing. We shall."
Obi-Wan then pulls out a holo communicator to contact Padme after the meeting is done. A projection of the Senator appears before him. "Padme, I need you to come with me on Coruscant to help confront Anakin. Do you have any information as to his whereabouts?" "Oh, he's not on Coruscant," Padme says. "What?" Obi-Wan replies. "Where is he then?" "He's on Mustafar on a command from the Chancellor to put an end to the Separatists, I think," she says. "That's what he told me anyway. He was going to end the war." Obi-Wan looks at her, his eyes furrowed as he strokes his beard. "Padme, I need you to listen to me very closely," starts Kenobi. "The Separatists, they seem to be on our side now, and their only chance at standing against the Sith. I will make contact with the Separatists and rendezvous with you immediately. We must then head to Mustafar, where we have to talk to Anakin and dissuade him from the dark side. I think you're his only hope, Padme. Do you understand me?" Padme nods knowingly. "Yes, Obi-Wan, I trust you, and I think you know what's best for Anakin. I just hope he's okay." Obi-Wan shakes his head. "I do too, Padme. I do too." He then hangs up and puts the communicator away. Following that, he goes to the one that he had extracted from Grievous's ship, the Soulless One. Knowing what they have to do, Obi-Wan calls in Yoda and Senator Organa, ready to contact the Separatists. Knowing that this was a strange path to follow, they all agree that this is the right way to go, after a significant amount of debate. Kenobi places the hologram on the floor, and then projects a stream of Separatist war room on Mustafar. "We thank you for your efforts in fighting alongside us against the Grand Army of the Republic," Obi-Wan says to Newt Gunray, who is present in the middle of the room. "We have received worrying intel that Anakin Skywalker may be on his way to your base on Mustafar, with harmful intent." A look of concern flashes over Newt's face. "Sidious told us that he would be visiting his new apprentice, but not why. Does Sidious really want us dead?" Newt asks. "I wouldn't put it past him," replies Obi-Wan. "Thank you for this intel, Kenobi," continues Gunray. "When we see him, we will shoot his craft out of the sky before he can land." "I can't let you do that," replies Kenobi hastily. "We need to come to Mustafar for negotiations with him. We want him alive. We will come to Mustafar for your protection and negotiation with Skywalker. In the meantime, We need you to split your droids into 2 battalions. One to ensure the safety and survival of the remaining Jedi across the galaxy, and the other to reclaim the Jedi Temple with Yoda and Plo Koon. Gunray nods respectfully. It will be done, Master Kenobi. The plan kicks into immediate action, and the CIS droids make their way to Coruscant to fight alongside Yoda and Plo Koon in order to reclaim the Jedi Temple from the clone forces. Obi-Wan and another Jedi survivor, Master Quinlan Vos, end up rendezvousing with Padme at a secret location before they decide to head to Mustafar. Soon, a conflict would emerge that would determine the fate of the galaxy, and what it would be, what its results would be, there were no telling. As Anakin approaches Mustafar, Sidious sends for a super tactical droid to ready a ship for Anakin, but he's confused when the droid responds blankly. Why was the droid not responding? He tries again. Ready a craft for Lord Vader, commands Palpatine. Once again, though, the droid takes no notice whatsoever of Sidious' commands, instead choosing to walk away from the Sith Lord, taking no notice of him as if he wasn't even there. Sidious starts to become agitated. Ready a craft for my apprentice, he shouts, his anger beginning to flare. Once again, the droid just responds with a blank stare, taking no notice now of the frustrated Sith Lord. Then it clicks to Sidious. He was no longer in control. Somehow, the Separatists had found out about what was going on, and now they were no longer on his side. He had been removed from being able to give the droids commands. Furious, Sidious blasts the droid with torrents of force lightning, frying its circuitry as the droid lets out a mechanical yelp. Sidious storms in to meet Anakin. Those Separatists are no longer taking orders from us, slurs Sidious bitterly. This is the reason I need them killed. Their regime shall not override my own. Ready your craft and head to Mustafar. Can't I use a tactical droid for that, my master? Anakin begins before being cut off. I suggest you follow my orders before I reconsider my offer to you, Sidious replies slyly. Flakes of frustration now very apparent in his tone. After all of this is happening, the Jedi arrive on Mustafar. Obi-Wan, Quinlan Vos, and Padme Amidala make their way towards the CIS war room. Upon their arrival, they are greeted by Newt Gunray and several other Separatist generals. Have you sectioned your troops off? Inquires Kenobi. Yes, master, replies Gunray. Multiple Jedi are being escorted here for safety, and another battalion of droids is en route to Coruscant in order to assist Yoda and Vos with a handful of the saved Jedi to fight for the Jedi Temple. Thank you again, Gunray, says Kenobi. I never thought that we would be on the same side of things, but, well, it appears that motivations can change quickly. Sir, Anakin's interceptor has been detected. He will be docking shortly, another Neimoidian officer says. Head to the lower levels and seal yourselves in. Do not let Anakin deactivate the droids, commands Kenobi. The Separatists scurry out of the main room, locking the doors behind them, leaving Kenobi, Vos, and Padme waiting for Anakin's arrival. Kenobi clarifies, Padme, if a fight breaks out, you must run. Anakin has been heavily influenced by Sidious, so don't expect him to be what you know him to be. All that we need you to do is be here for the negotiations. A fight? Padme asks. No, please don't hurt him, she pleads. Anakin won't be himself, and he's going to be unpredictable. But I still love him, she says. Obi-Wan frowns. We must prepare for all outcomes, Padme. Obi-Wan answers. Padme looks to the floor and takes a shaky, deep breath. Okay, she mutters reluctantly. At that moment, Anakin bursts through the door with a look of thunder in his eyes, his robes dark, and he's wearing a hood obscuring most of his face. His look of anger quickly turns into one of confusion as he sees Obi-Wan's face. Where are they? Why are you here? He demands. He then spots Padme, and his eyebrows raise as he lowers his hood, and a look of disbelief crosses his face. Padme, get away from these traitors, he says. Kenobi wants to help us, she pleads. Us? Anakin inquires. He knows. So do most of the Jedi now, she states. He's told me terrible things, Anakin. That you killed the younglings. Obi-Wan is trying to turn you against me, he counters. Don't lie, Anakin, scoffs Kenobi. You know it's true. Is it true, Anakin? Padme asks. Anakin looks at her with fury in his eyes. Yes, the Jedi turned against me. I did what I had to do. The Jedi are evil. Anakin, don't do this. You're a good person. Please, don't do this to me. Don't do this to us, our children. Padme begs as she approaches him. Get away from me, he yells. Padme, do as he says. Kenobi agrees. Anakin, I want you to know that I want the best for both of you. You're a good person, and the chosen one. Palpatine is not the answer. You can save the galaxy. I have saved the galaxy, Anakin interrupts. Don't you see? I brought peace. The war is over. Palpatine is using you, Anakin, Kenobi counters. Liar, he exclaims. You're either with me, or you're my enemy. Which one will it be, Kenobi? Only a Sith deals in absolutes. Padme, leave. I will do what I must, he says, drawing his lightsaber at the same time as Quinlan Vos. You will try, replies Anakin. Meanwhile, on the other side of the galaxy, Yoda and Plo Koon arrive on Coruscant alongside the massive CIS fleet, along with several other surviving Jedi and Padawans, such as Ahsoka Tano and Kanan Jarrus. As the final CIS ships arrive, they begin their slow descent towards the planet. For the second time in recent months, Coruscant was going to be under siege. The giant fleet fills the sky as they swarm to the city below. Yoda and Plo make their way towards the Senate building in order to confront Sidious, while the CIS fleet, along with Ahsoka and the rest of the remaining Jedi, make their way to the Jedi Temple to reclaim it once and for all. Yoda and Plo arrive outside the Senate building, which is being surrounded by legions of clone troopers. The Jedi make their move. They rush towards the entrance. The clone troopers notice the Jedi and then open fire. Yoda deflects several blaster bolts back into the chest of clones who fired them. Plo starts to slash through the clones, slicing and dicing through the crowd of soldiers. Corpses of clones begin to crumble to the floor as they're impaled by Yoda and Plo's strikes. The Jedi make their way through the main entrance of the building, running past clone troopers, deflecting blaster bolts as they come from every side. The two fly through the halls of the Senate building, making their way up towards the chambers to confront Palpatine. Yoda and Plo burst into the council chambers. Sidious's face is one of shock, although his shock quickly turns to an evil, maniacal grin. Plo looks across the chamber at Sidious.
We know what you did,
he announces. Oh dear, I'm caught. I'm shaking in my boots, he remarks sarcastically.
You're not leaving here alive,
Plo states sternly. Sidious chuckles.
It's treason then. Once again.
He launches himself across the room. Plo jumps in retaliation, meeting his blade in the middle. They grapple midair before Yoda launches a chair towards the two, flinging them both to opposite sides of the chamber. Yoda runs around the sides of the chamber to reach Sidious. Before he can reach him, though, he's discarded by Sidious, using the Force to the bottom of the chamber, where Yoda falls unconscious. Meanwhile, on the other side of the planet, led by Ahsoka and the rest of the remaining Jedi, the CIS army assembles. Battalions of B-1s and super battle droids, followed by a sea of assorted separatist troops from across the galaxy, all come together. The silence is pierced by Ram Koda yelling out a shrill battle cry before charging into battle. The army floods the streets of Coruscant, making their way to the Jedi Temple. The patrolling clones look at the spectacle in awe. It's truly a sight to behold, one that they never anticipated they would ever see in their lives. Luminara Unduli kills the first clone of the battle, deflecting a blaster bolt back into the skull of an oncoming trooper. The army continues to charge towards the temple, and by the time the army reaches the steps of the Jedi Temple, thousands of droid and clone casualties have already been claimed. As the army enters the Jedi Temple, blaster bolts fly through the sky, and a flurry of slices engulf the clone army. The clones stand no chance as the massive CIS army floods towards the end of the temple. Effortlessly moving towards the temple, several pockets of conflict have formed, each propagated by a Jedi leading a small group of droids around the back of the clone army in order to round up any stragglers. Ahsoka runs up at the front with a group of 5 super battle droids, slicing through the sea of clones to search for Inquisitors. B1 battle droids secure the exits to the building. No one enters or exits the temple until every Inquisitor is dead. As the sea of clones begins to dry up, some Inquisitors come to the surface, a handful of them engaging and winning in one-on-one hand-to-hand combat with the Jedi. Others become overwhelmed by the sheer number of battle droids to the point where they simply cannot defend against the sheer number of blaster bolts. And while they make significant dents in the army, leaving countless droids for dead, they still cannot completely overwhelm the Jedi. Inevitably, the huge CIS army prevails. Meanwhile, on Mustafar, Padme flees the scene as Obi-Wan and Quinlan Vos ready their stances for combat with Anakin. I wish I didn't have to come to this, Anakin, Obi-Wan says as he swings his blade towards the rebel Jedi. Anakin parries just as Vos makes a swing for him as well. The two lock blades while Kenobi readies his stance again, giving Vos space to speak with Anakin. Trust me when I tell you that this is not a path you want to go down, Anakin, says Vos in a bid to persuade him. The Jedi have turned on me. How do you know what path I should go down? Anakin counters. Vos shakes his head. I know better than anyone, he says, kicking Anakin in the stomach, breaking the lock. Anakin repels Vos before recovering his footing and parrying Obi-Wan's oncoming attack. Anakin, he's right, exclaims Kenobi, blocking Anakin's retaliatory strikes. I went to the dark side, shouts Vos, stabbing at Anakin. A look of confusion passes over Anakin as he parries the attack, clenching his teeth. When Ventress and I plotted to kill Dooku, we went to extreme measures, he says, as he continues to slash towards Anakin, forcing him out the door and into the intense heat of Mustafar. Ventress convinced me to turn to the dark side, to use my anger to fight against Dooku, and it almost worked. We came close, but eventually he uses the hilt of his lightsaber to begin to loosen Anakin's grip. Obi-Wan uses the Force to pull Anakin's saber from his grasp. Eventually my anger got the best of me, and Dooku almost killed me. And he would have if it wasn't for Ventress, who took the blow for me, he remarks, his eyes glazing over. Vos kicks Anakin to the floor and pins him with the tip of his saber. But you wouldn't be defeated like that, would you? You wouldn't have your lover die because your ego is too big to realize that your anger isn't an asset. It's a weakness. You wouldn't, would you, Anakin? Obi-Wan adds to this argument, reaching out his hand. Come, Anakin. Together we can save the galaxy from Sidious, and once we become a master we can save Padme. You can see the restricted section. Anakin's eyes still have fire behind them, but one of frustration, not anger. Without saying a word, Anakin takes Kenobi's hand. He stands face to face with him, not an inch of space between the two. Promise me you'll help me save Padme, begs Anakin. If we bring Sidious to justice, I will help you, Skywalker, Obi-Wan says. While this is happening, on Coruscant, as Yoda hits the bottom of the chamber, the Grand Inquisitor enters the Senate room. Plo is now on his own against two of the most powerful dark side users in the galaxy. He knows that there's no way that he can win this fight. He's a competent fighter and even more competent of a Force user, but there's no way that he can defeat two Sith Lords at once. Well, granted, the Inquisitor was not a Sith Lord, but still incredibly powerful. He prepares for his defeat, readying his stance. But in that instant, Anakin bursts through the door. Plo is in pure disbelief. He'd heard what Anakin had done, and now he knows for sure that it's over for him. Anakin, see? The Jedi have come to kill me again, calls out Sidious. Rightfully so, Anakin replies. Everyone in the room is visibly confused. Anakin arguing against his new Sith master. Tell me, honestly, you wouldn't just kill Padme if she got in your way, just like you guys killed Asajj. Anakin, don't be foolish, argues Sidious. Well, I have someone here who believes that I am actually taking the right path, and who truly believed in me. At that moment, Kenobi and Vos enter the chamber behind Anakin, their sabers ignited. Plo uses this as an opportunity to throw a seat at Sidious. Sidious catches it, and the two engage in a battle of vicious Force strength, with Sidious winning, crushing Plo with the Senate chair pod. Kenobi and Voss launch an attack on the Inquisitor, while Anakin engages with Sidious. A flurry of slashes unfold as Kenobi and Voss engage with the Grand Inquisitor. Voss kicks the Inquisitor's legs out from underneath him before pinning him to the floor with his own saber. Him on one blade, Kenobi on the other. The Inquisitor pushes the two back up, sending them into the wall as his pod in the empty space of the chamber reacts. The Inquisitor jumps back in to attack the two. Voss blocks but forgets about the second blade, which plunges into his side, killing him. And the Inquisitor smirks. In retaliation, Kenobi elegantly slices the Grand Inquisitor's head clean off, leaving him for dead and his body to thump to the chamber floor below. He looks to the other side of the room where Anakin is engaged in full combat with Sidious, a blur of lightsaber blades coming together. "You used me," shouts Anakin. "You could have been great, powerful, strong. You were so close. We could have ruled the galaxy, and now you've let Kenobi get inside your head." "You're wrong," Anakin responds. "I'm the only one who can save Padme, Anakin." "You're a liar," he says. Anakin swings his sword towards Sidious's waist, slicing the Dark Lord. But in that moment, Sidious plunges his saber into Anakin's chest. "Anakin!" Kenobi yells, running over to the young Jedi. He watches as Anakin falls to the edge of the pod, and Sidious crumbles after Anakin had sliced him in two. "Save Padme for me, Obi-Wan. Save Padme, and make sure those children grow up and learn how to live. Don't let them make the same mistakes as me." Anakin smiles as a single tear rolls down his cheek as he dies. Kenobi buries his face in Anakin's chest, and he weeps. With Sidious and Anakin's deaths, the war truly is over. The Senate revokes Order 66, and Bail Organa is instated to be the new Chancellor. The Jedi start to rebuild. Clones, inhibitor chips are removed, and droids are repurposed for purposes other than combat, except for in a select few systems where they remain as a security force. CIS leaders are locked away for their crimes, but the CIS government and the Republic begin peace talks with each other. While many of the leaders had committed war crimes in the Confederacy, there were also many good politicians who simply wanted to secede and start their own government. Clones and droids finally find a new purpose in fighting Crimson Dawn and Maul's criminal organization, along with the crime families. Padme Amidala reluctantly agrees to let the children be trained by Kenobi and Voss, especially after Anakin's dying wish. They grow up to be powerful Jedi, and Padme smiles, continuing to serve in the Senate and watch as her children grew up to have that same flair as their father did. The galaxy is at peace, and even though Anakin had died, he had still brought balance to the Force. Perhaps he truly was the chosen one that the prophecy had always spoken about. And perhaps this time, the galaxy would stay in a state of order. Hello everyone, and thank you for watching today's video. Today, for my special guest on this show, I actually found one of the only remaining B1 battle droids still left in the galaxy. How are you doing today, good sir?
Roger, Roger. I'm doing well. How about you?
Oh, I'm doing just spectacular. Thank you for asking. So, what did you think of today's video?
Well, I was a little bit surprised that the battle droids were saving the Jedi generals, but I must admit, I do enjoy a good battle, and I liked the premise. After all, I am called a battle droid. I was very surprised to see the clones executing Order 66 and killing their Jedi generals.
Yeah, that was a shock to us all, but you know what? I'm glad that you enjoyed today's video, and I hope that you have an incredible rest of your day. Anything else you'd like to add before you head out?
Just this. Roger, Roger.
All right. Well, I'll see you around. Thanks for coming on. And thank you all for watching today's video. I hope that each and every one of you enjoyed it. If you did, I would recommend commenting below what you liked, what you didn't like, and whether or not you think there could be a part 2. If so, what do you think would happen in part 2? I would also highly recommend that you join our Discord server. It's a fantastic community of like-minded Star Wars fans, and we're always talking about everything Star Wars. So if you're interested, please click on the link and join that Discord server. I hope that each and every one of you have an absolutely bantatacular day, and, as always, I hope that you've had your daily delicious dose of Bantha Stew.